Hey, Tren.
Hello, Lou. How are you?
I'm good, mate.
That's
What's going
good.
on today?
We are talking about court cards because
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I find court cards can be quite confusing sometimes.
Yeah,
They can be because yes, we talk about personalities and certain court cards represent certain people, but sometimes they don't.
that's right. Sometimes they're not even about the
They're not
people, are
even, yeah,
they?
no, and you think,
Yeah,
how do I work that into a situation, or what question I'm asking? How do I work that into it?
yeah.
So
Interesting. So we're going to
yeah,
cover
we're
off
gonna
on
we're
some of
gonna
that
talk about that.
today. Yeah,
So.
just a little bit of it.
So hopefully you'll get a better understanding of the court cards.
That's right. Let
Yeah.
us know your thoughts.
Yes. So we're going to pick a card
Oh, yeah.
and see what
Let's do the card.
what do we need to know about this episode?
What do we need to know
Yeah,
about this
what do we
episode?
need to be aware of or need to focus on for this episode? And we're using the Light Seers deck. It's the Hierophant.
Fucking funny.
The Hierophant.
Seriously, can't make this
No,
shit
you
up.
can't.
The Hierophant, right, in some decks is known as the specialist, right? And giving that ideas and the ascension in this case, which is what I'm
Yeah.
seeing there.
Yes.
So I think it's asking us for about the episode to trust our knowledge that we're going to share.
Yes.
I think that's what it's saying.
Impart our knowledge.
Impart our
You know,
knowledge, yeah, impart our
So not that
knowledge.
we're saying we're specialists, but
No, no, no. That's what I was like. Oh,
no, we're not.
around that.
No,
But yeah,
but it's again, it's like
but then maybe
even
we
yeah,
are.
maybe we're. But even though we're going to talk about it, we're still going to be still learning. Even though we know things, as you've heard, we say things. We go, I haven't heard that before, or
Yeah.
didn't know that before. So it is even we are going to be learning, even though we're telling you.
Absolutely. But the stairs are about the ascension,
Yeah,
right?
so
And the
moving up.
rising and the
Yeah.
moving up. So the increase in
Yeah,
knowledge, I
increase in
think.
knowledge, I think.
So
And
yeah.
and sort of, well, and could actually be shining a light on it too. So it's shining a light on things that may we don't understand fully.
That's right. And most of all, the look on that character's face
Oh,
is have
yes.
fun.
Have fun. Have fun with it. Yeah, don't take yourself so seriously.
No, don't take yourself so seriously.
So yeah,
Right. So the court cards.
the court cards.
Typically, they are known as the who. So who's who in the zoo, who is in your life, who is in the reading, who do you need to be aware of. Typically, that's what a court card would represent. However, as Tren so easily pointed out there, it's not necessarily that. There can be other things. So we're going to start with just looking at what the pages, the knights, the queens, the kings represent from an energetic point of view. Then we're going to look at some of the elements in regards to those specific kings, knights, queens, and pages. So does that make sense? So kind of like, yeah, trying to break it down.
And also adding more layers.
Yeah, it's a layered thing, right? Yeah,
so it's not just one thing. It's not just the page is not just the young person who's bringing a message. They're not just that.
No, they're not just that. They're not just that. However, we're going to start there, right? So the pages can represent children, young people. Now, when I say young people, I'm talking up to like 25 years old. Why 25? Because our brain is still developing up until then. So that's why anyone under 25 fits in the page space, even though they may have the energy of a knight, for example, which we'll get to shortly. So the pages, children, young people up to 25, they can represent the new thing, whatever that thing is. So whether it's the new resource, the new idea, the new emotion, it's the new action, it's that kind of thing. Similar to an ace in a lot of ways is
because those are
very similar.
When a page comes out, it sort of confirms that there are new beginnings starting.
Yeah, that they are starting. Yeah, absolutely. And the messages, as you said, they can be a messenger, and it's also like the seeking of the new experiences as such, because they want those new experiences. So therefore, they're open-minded, right? They're more open-minded than a king, for argument's sake. King kind of knows it all. So here they're open-minded. They're a lot of them are intuitive because they're working with their intuition, believe it or not, and they're quite receptive. That's because they're open to, right? Open to. So that's page energy, just as a page, any page, just as a page.
Very curious, aren't they?
Very curious. and it can represent that, and
Yeah.
it potentially like a playful energy,
Yeah.
right? They want to play,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what usually kids are
Kids,
interested in,
yeah.
right? So it's reminding us that we need to keep that inner child awakened. So the page can also represent the inner child, right?
Yeah.
So all of these different things. So we move on to the knights, and here, of course, we're looking in the young adult. I want to say a young adult is kind of like leading up to like 35, 38. That's typically where you'll find a knight sits. Now, male or female doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Same as the pages, male or female doesn't matter. So they have a little bit of knowledge, but not a lot of knowledge. But they are like they're focused, if that makes, because they want to learn,
Yes.
they want to grow, they want to do, they're out and about, they're keen to adventure, to adventure, and they're keen and they're passionate and they're active because they want to grow and learn all this information. So I've just taken a few notes here, and it's talking about like taking action, right, towards the experience. So that means then taking action towards the experience, depending on whether it's a knight, I beg your pardon, a pentacle or a cup or whatever, taking action towards that. That's what they're referring to.
Goal. Working towards that goal.
Working towards that goal in relation to what the question was that was asked.
Yes.
Right. So a bit, and then the cup, for argument's sake, might say that they need to consider their emotions while they're doing this, working towards that goal that the question was about, right? So it's kind of getting a bit deeper into the layers there, but that's how it works. They're searching for themselves, so they're searching to learn about themselves and knowledge about themselves, and their knowledge is how to control their energy. That's what it's about, right? Their energy. How do they control that? So that is a knight. We move on to the queens, right? Now, queens, women, but energetically, they can also represent the man who has embodied his feminine energy fully, right? Or he may be a gentle man, a kinder man, a quieter man, the things that would typically in society represent how a woman might behave, right? So it can represent a man behaving that way. So the queens have definitely gained some wisdom, and they can influence a situation through their wisdom that they've gained, right? But they're typically behind the scenes.
Yes, they sort of take a step back, don't they?
They do take a step back, and they're more they are definitely more behind the scenes. It doesn't mean that that's all they do, because they could certainly be up front. But however, because it's their wisdom that's guiding whatever it is that's happening, they can be behind the scenes. So they look at, so they'll influence that way. So they're very intuitive, very, very, very intuitive. Those queens, protective, bit of a mama bear energy can come with a queen.
Nurturing, isn't it?
Yeah, can be very nurturing.
And that can include tough love too.
Absolutely,
so,
tough love. Absolutely.
We're not saying all queens are soft.
No. I'm glad you picked me up on that. No, they're not. They're not. Some of them are real fucking hard asses, right? So they can be the boss bitch.
Yes.
Right. They very much know what they want. And speaking of what they want, they are seeking loyalty, right? So they want that loyal companion and connection.
Yeah.
So that's typically when you're just looking at a queen overall, that's what that's about, right? Wow, it has just suddenly got very, very windy here. Yeah. Don't know if you can hear it or not. It's pretty loud. So then we can move on to the kings. Now the kings they can represent completed cycles, right?
Yeah.
They have all the knowledge. They've done all the things. Now, unlike the queen, they are right in your face and right up in front.
They're front and center, aren't they?
Front and center, those buggers.
No standing back for them.
No standing back for them. So they talk to wisdom and authority, right? So they're very much about asserting their authority through the wisdom that they've gained along the way, right? That's what a healthy king.
Yes.
A healthy king does, right? Yeah. It can be an energetically really strong woman, like we spoke before, can be very much like that.
Yeah, so there's no gender assigned to any of these.
No gender assigned. No gender assigned to any of this. I'm glad that you helped me with that wording. So, but yeah, they are the masters of their domain, right? At the top of their game, absolutely top of their game. They can be assertive, commanding, but they're very, very decisive. So they don't fuck around, right? So if you're with someone or someone's in your life and, you know, they come across as they know what they're talking about and they are really young, they can still have king energy, right? They can still have that. And then again, you can have someone who's a lot older who can't make a decision,
Exactly.
right? Doesn't mean that they're in their king energy.
No.
They're not, right?
They're still leveling up.
They are. Well, they're still learning about,
Yeah.
you know, how their wisdom is going to direct this
Yeah.
decision that they're making, right? Which is what the kings do.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting.
it is interesting. So that's just like page
Yeah.
knight, queen,
and
king, what that energy at that level can represent.
Yeah.
So after this, now we move into the elements. We include the elements in this. So I'm just going to talk a bit about that. So if we're looking at the swords, just the swords, doesn't matter who it is. So it doesn't matter, you know, page, knight, whatever. It's just the element. So the swords are obviously fast. They're about the mental energy. They're about how we communicate. These people can be sharp-tongued. They can be a bit prickly. They can be cutting. All of the things to do with the swords. They can represent an air sign, right? That's another thing, right? It can be an air sign, which is pretty cool when you think about it. Now, we're going to talk about their physical appearance.
Now, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to tap into the physical appearance. And there are different schools of thought. So you may have your school of thought, and that's fine. I remember, like, so long ago when I was looking at Arthur Edward Waite's book on the pictorial tarot. So he wrote the Rider-Waite deck, right?
Yeah.
And he will tell you that a sword is a blonde-haired person.
Well, that doesn't suit sometimes, does it?
No, whereas I don't see it that way. I see a wand as a blonde-haired person. So very different in times of kind of changed. And you, yeah, and I mean, you think about just the comparison for that for a second, just look at that and how that's developed over time, because the wand itself in the Rider-Waite deck in particular is like red. So it talks about fire and passion, right? Well, why wouldn't it be a redhead?
Well, that's what I was thought. It'd be obvious to be a redhead.
So to me, it'd be obvious to be a redhead, right? So there are things that have changed over time, and yet the fellow who created this had a completely different take. So and he created it, right? In his mind, that's what it was. So I'm just going to go off how I see it, and if you choose to see different, that's great. I'd love to know. So the sword is brown to dark brown hair, right? From a physical standpoint, and hazel to light brown eyes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Hazel to light brown eyes, olive skin.
Okay, I can see that.
Right? That's how I see a sword. So we look at a cup. And cups are creative, they're intuitive, they like to go with the flow, they're emotional, they're into their feelings. Water sign. Water sign, right? So we look at the colouring or the physical appearance, right? Light brown to dark brown hair. Blue or hazel eyes.
Yes, I would say blue or hazel. Yeah, blue or green to me.
Yeah, blue or green. Yeah, blue, green, hazel. Yeah, and they're fair skinned.
Yep, I can see that.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. So then we look at the wand, which I vaguely touched on before, right? So they're active because they're the action cards. So they're wanting to do something. They can't sit still. Can't sit still, right? Out and about. They're the active people that go to the fucking gym. Right? That's them, right? Active people go to the gym. They're fiery. They can be hot-tempered. They're incredibly passionate. Yeah. They can be a fire sign. Yeah. Makes sense to me, right? Yeah. So their physical appearance can be red or blonde hair, light coloured eyes, like just light coloured eyes, really light. Yeah. And they're going to have pale skin.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. Pasty. Yeah. They're a bit like mine, right? So Interesting. And we look at the pentacles. Okay, so the pentacles are very earthy people. They're very grounded. They're a lot more slow moving.
Yeah, almost very solid.
Yeah, and physically can
physically
appear
solid.
quite solid too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whereas a sword typically can be like
Thin
thin,
and
moving,
whippy and
whippy, tall, all the
Yeah.
certainly not me, right? So, all of that. So they're earthy, they're grounded, they're literally down to earth, they're steady, they're stable. They're fucking stubborn too.
Oh, completely.
Right, can
It's
be
like they dig their heels in sometimes.
they can. I'm not moving here.
Yeah.
And an earth sign, right?
Yes.
So they're going to take their time to do things. They're a bit more methodical, right?
It's got to be in like step by step.
Absolutely.
Step by
It's
step. They can't jump
plodding
ahead.
along. Yeah, no. Whereas
A sword.
sword, absolutely. I yet done thought about it. Why aren't you here yet? Yeah? So it's like that. So they're going to have dark hair, dark eyes, and dark skin.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
So that's how I see that. I'd love to know if you guys see that differently at all. I'll just move over to my next lot of notes. Okay, just so I don't forget anything, you know?
Exactly. We've got to get it all down.
I do got to get it all down. So, all right, the court cards themselves, just back to generalizing the court cards themselves, they can actually represent aspects of yourself or others. So the aspects of self can be all the things that we've already said, right? And the same as aspects of self. So when someone asks, for argument's sake, in a reading, oh, can you tell me what they like? You can have a look at the court cards and, oh, okay, this is what I sense, feel, or what's being shown here. Now, it can also be the dominant energy. So you can pick up in a reading whether someone is being manipulated or dominated, or whether they are doing that.
Yes.
Because it might constantly repeat itself. You might constantly see these
the same card,
the same card, or all the swords come up, and you're like, yeah, no, as in swords for the court cards. You're like, yeah, no, there's something about this. There's a lot of this energy around and about, which can also represent families. So it can be, oh, you're from the same family, or you're suited, you match each other. This kind of language can start coming into the reading when you start to see that. Now, they can also represent the different approaches to take. So if you were to say, how do I approach this? And you have a Knight of Pentacles show, then it's factual. Just here, no emotion, just here it is. This is what I can offer you, that's it. Whereas if it's the Knight of Cups, then they're going to ask you to consider
how you feel.
How do you feel in this approach? Right.
Yeah.
Great. So if it was the Knight of Swords,
you just, to me, the Knight of Swords always means you're rushing, but also, have you got all the information? Have you gone off half-cocked?
Here's the information. I'm going to present the information to you. So interesting.
It's very interesting, isn't it? And again, like we're talking about situation, if you get the Knight of Swords, go for it, but make sure you have all the information. If you get the Knight of Pentacles, hang on, we need to take a step back. We need to focus. So they're not, like we've been talking about, they're not always people. We can relate them to situations.
Absolutely, can relate to situations. So they can also represent the elements of the zodiac, right? The elements. So water sign, fire sign, we said that before, right? Earth sign, air sign. It can, as another layer, represent that, which can kind of tap into timing a little bit if you think about it, right?
Yes.
It can do that. So when they're reversed, though, I don't typically read reversed. However, if they just happen to show reversed, or you are a person who reads reversed, then that's going to represent either the darker side of that personality, the darker side of that situation, or even, some people call it the shadow side. Right. So that's what that can represent. And it can also be an internalization of what is being shown in front of you. If that makes sense.
So it might not be all roses coming up. It's like, no, you've got to look underneath things and see what's being buried.
What's being buried, right? What have you pushed down there, right? Can be that. Now, if there's a lot of court cards that show up in someone's reading, that's a tell.
Yes,
And you can find that information in my
yes.
book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What that represents is lots of people.
Lots of people.
Lots of people. So the person that you're reading for can be a people person, or maybe they're a people pleaser, right? Or maybe they just have a lot of people around them. Maybe they come from a big family. Maybe they're happy to look at their extended family.
Yeah.
So that would be a clue as to what that could be.
And especially if they're talking about a situation and you get lots of court cards, it could be that you've got support around.
Absolutely.
People supporting you around, and you're not doing this on your own.
No, no. So yeah, and yeah, having said that, we can feel alone with a lot of people around us, right?
Yeah.
So the elements are going to you're going to pick up on that as to what that is, whether you feel alone or you've got all the support, right? So now we're going to combine the
so the court cards with the element.
Court card with the element. What am I trying to say here? Yeah, the court card with the element, right? Like, what the fuck? So the Page of Pentacles, right? What is the Page of Pentacles about when we're looking at that individually? So it's about learning a trade or a skill. Page of Pentacles will be a hard worker. They will be methodical. They will want to work calmly. So you don't want to have a Page of Pentacles person in like a noisy, loud room. Not going to work for them. They wouldn't cope at all. And what they're doing is they're learning about their resources. That's what they're learning, because pages are learning, right? So learning about the resources. We look at the Page of Cups. What are they learning? They're learning about their emotions, right? They're learning how to regulate them, because they're sensitive, they're creative, they're intuitive. They don't like change, these guys.
No, they don't.
Don't like change. They're learning how to connect with others. That's the other thing they're learning. How do I emotionally connect with this person? How do I feel safe with this person? You know, that's what they're learning. And sometimes a cup can be withdrawn. So those people can be like a little quiet.
Yeah, quiet and introverted, can't they?
That's it, introverted. Yeah, they can. So Page of Wands, let's look at that. So they love change.
They welcome it, don't they?
Welcome it.
They
like,
go looking for it.
Looking for it. Yeah, absolutely they do. So they're learning when to act and when not to act, because they're all about the action. Right? They're all about the action. So they're learning to trust their own energy, those guys. That's what that is about. Page of Swords is next. They're adaptable, analytical, they're swift, they're sharp. They are learning about communication and how to think, right? Because you think about that, right? When we're young, we're told what to think. And it's not until we go through life that we actually start to change some of that stuff and we learn how
to think.
Yeah.
And with the Page of Swords, it's also when to speak and
absolutely when to speak and when not to speak. I love that. Yeah. When to speak and when not to speak.
Sometimes especially the Page of Swords, their mouth can run away with them and then they get in trouble. So it's like learning when to say something and when not to.
Very, very much so. And of course, they're very alert, right? Yeah. They're very alert. So we're going to move on to the Knights. So the Knight of Pentacles. So they're seeking financial and career success. That's where they're at in their life. When you look at where is this person at in life, so that's where they're at. They're still methodical, they're still plotting, all those things.
Yes, that doesn't change.
That doesn't change. They like to be grounded, but they are definitely on a mission.
Oh yeah,
right.
They are so focused, aren't they?
They are focused. Yeah. So the Knight of Cups. They are seeking the perfect romance. This is the knight in shining armor, exactly. That kind of thing. So they're looking at their emotional energy, right? Now, they can be icy.
Yes.
They can be smooth.
Smooth talker.
They can be turbulent. Definitely creative and intuitive, right? So they're learning all about those things. Mostly, how do they not so much regulate, because they've done a little bit of regulating, but can they trust? Can they give their heart? Can they open their heart? Can they feel fully into what's happening for them? Do they understand their emotions? It's that kind of thing. So Knight of Wands, right, seeking action. very adventurous, passionate, hot-headed. They like the heat, and they might be a little bit steamy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passionate.
Very passionate, right? So I'm just going to stop my mouth right now. Not say something inappropriate. That is unusual for me. Right. So the Knight of Swords. So these guys, they're seeking. Here I am. They're seeking a quick change, ideas about the headspace. So they're very much, they've got a lot of ideas going on in their headspace. Their energy is around mental health. So they can be sharp and pointy. So these guys are checking into their ideas and their mental health and where they're at and how fast their mind's moving, their intellect moving, again, back to communication. Is it okay to speak now? Is it safe to speak now?
Yeah, exactly.
How do I best communicate this information that I'm choosing to communicate? So these are the things that they're all learning, right? So then we're going to have a look now. We move over to the Queens. The Queens, right, because they've done their growing.
Yes.
So there's not so much to grow here. It's more about perception, right, and what they look after. So the Queen of Pentacles is the protector of resources. Yeah. There's a whole lot of things. She's loves to be outside. She would represent all the things of nature and abundance, right? She can be a little bit anxious, funny enough, which I would normally say anxious, you could say, is a sword, but the Queen of Swords is pretty much.
She's pretty direct and she's straightforward.
Direct and straightforward, So the Queen of Pentacles can and be a bit anxious, and that comes from when you look at the Queen of Pentacles card, particularly in the Rider-Waite deck, there's a rabbit in the corner, which can represent like that flightiness that a rabbit can have, as well as abundance, right? So, and fertility.
And it's also, I often think she is quite okay being on her own.
Yeah, she is. She's comfortable. She's comfortable, very comfortable. So comfortable in her own skin. So let's look at the cups. So the cups are about the protector of kindness and emotional stability and emotional awareness, and able to express oneself very clearly in that state. So a cup represents the creativity, the intuition, the fact that on the Rider-Waite deck, you will see that the water around her feet is also in her robe, in the gown. So she's embodied her emotions. She has a full understanding of them and expresses them. She knows not to be afraid of her emotion. She's aware that the emotion is not right or wrong. It simply is. It is. It just is.
Yeah.
All right. So Wands, the protector of passion and goals. Right, protector of passion and goals, because she's learned how to have a goal and what that can mean, and she's also very, very comfortable in her own skin.
Very much, isn't she? She's very open.
She's very open. She's much more open body language in the Rider-Waite deck anyway, right? Is what she happens to talk about. The swords are the protector of justice, right? That sword on the Rider-Waite deck is straight up and down, like the sword of truth. So she's not to be fucked around with.
Not at all, is it?
She'll tell you exactly like it is, and she'll cut you off if she needs to. She's the boss bitch.
She is. She very much is. Do not cross her.
No. And she'll be fair though. She'll be fair, and she'll just say it like it is, but don't cross her.
No, don't cross her.
No. So last but not least, we come to the kings. And the King of Pentacles, now remember, because they've completed everything, so they're the master of, right? So he's the master of material success.
So he's achieved everything. All the kings have achieved.
They have achieved, that's right. All the kings have achieved. So the master of material success. So you're looking at accountants, bankers,
financial
advisors, someone who has a wealth of knowledge, but also understands how wealth works.
So businessmen, entrepreneurs, those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or business person.
Could be a business person, absolutely. So cups, they are the master of emotion and relationships, right? So that can be interesting because the King of Cups himself, in his shadow side, right? Let's look at his shadow for a second. He can be the emotionally immature.
Yes.
Right? He can be very immature and like not want to take it on. But the person or the King of Cups who has embodied all of that is very respectful, is what we would
Yeah.
call like an awakened
Yes.
male who is aware. Not saying these others aren't awakened, but just represented from an energetic point of view, right?
Yeah.
So that he is aware, he can safely express his emotion,
Yeah.
right? And it respects relationships at
Yeah.
all levels, right? The Wands, the King of Wands, he's the master of his own power. He knows when to act and when not to act. Because remember in the
back in the page, yeah, it was like, you know, he was choosing or working out when to go and when not to.
Absolutely. Whereas the king knows. So he knows when to act and when not to act, and he rules that way. So the swords, this is the last, the swords,
King
right?
of Swords.
King of Swords. He is the master of his own thoughts and rational decisions.
Yes. Very rational.
Rational
logical
decision maker. Yeah. Whereas the King of Cups will make an emotional decision. The swords will make a rational, logical decision. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Where the King of Wands will decide how he needs to act to get what he wants, right? How can I get what I want? What do I need to do to get what I want? That's how he is. And the Pentacles is like, how much is shit going to cost me, right?
Exactly.
So like that.
What's the budget?
What's the budget? Exactly. So that hopefully has helped you understand that, or give you more knowledge around the court cards and how they're not just the who's.
No,
that they
so
can
much
be
more.
But they are so much more. They can help you with your decision making. They can help you with, you know, what energy do I need to bring to this situation? Where am I at in a cycle? You know, so much more than just the actual court card.
So I hope that's brought a little bit more information and less confusing for you when the court cards turn up. So I think maybe just pull the court cards out and just have a practice with them. Just have a look at them. And see what you get from them.
Absolutely. Let us know your thoughts as always.
Yes.
Like, share, subscribe, all of the things.
Ask your questions. Tell us what you think.
And we will catch you beautiful people next time. Thanks for listening, watching
and supporting us.
and
Thank you.
supporting. Big love.